Quora is the best question and answer forum on the web. We bring fresh and interesting content every day. Subscribe not to miss out. This question has been going viral on Quora with thousands of views, and we also got a lot interesting answer from our user. Let's explore them. This is coming from Stephen Haddock, and he said, "Why does Hollywood think they need China? China has 1.2 billion people, 4 times the number in the United States. And they love movies. More importantly, they love a lot of American movies. As one of the largest single movie viewing markets, the price an American production company can charge for the distribution rights in China is often the difference between a production just breaking even and it making a huge amount of money. So let's do a compare and contrast. Skyscraper is a generic action flick starring Dwayne Johnson. Johnson is incredibly popular in China, and the only reason this movie got made was for the Chinese market. It cost $125 million to make and only did $68 million at the domestic box office, which would usually scream flop. However, it did an additional $230 million worldwide, and the majority of that was in China, so it made heaps of money. Look for Skyscraper I coming to a theater near you. Mad Max Fury Road is a critically acclaimed work of art currently at number 26 on the IMDb Top 250 that won 6 Academy Awards, starring actual actors Tom Hardy and Charlize Theron, the latter having her own Academy Award. It cost $150 million to make and pulled in a little more than that in the domestic market, and another $220 million on top of that in foreign markets. However, it was banned in China for its content, which severely hurt its profitability. We may get another film in the series someday. As an American producer, you ignore the Chinese market at your peril." Also, we received this from Zach Liu. As most have mentioned, the Chinese middle class is already 2 to 3 times the entire population of the US. And you don't even need to be middle class to afford a movie ticket in China. Chinese movie tickets are pretty cheap. If you were a completely rational Hollywood studio, your best bet would be to direct and produce a movie in China with Chinese actors, lower costs across the board, and sell that movie mainly to Chinese audiences. Your total revenue and profit margin are bound to be higher than doing the same thing in actual Hollywood USA. Right now, they can still play both sides and make movies that have appealed to both American and Chinese audiences. I suspect that this will become increasingly difficult in the future as Sino-American tensions escalate. Even back in 2015, before Trump and the Kung Flu, American pundits were losing their minds about how China was portrayed in The Martian. They lambasted 20th Century Fox for daring to portray China in anything other than a completely negative light. These idiots didn't even bother to check that the Chinese role was in the book. In fact, the Chinese actually play a larger role in the book, if I remember the plot of the book correctly. Katie Tong also said, "It's very obvious to anyone who looks at film financing that the Chinese money is needed. Most major motion pictures can't afford to piss off the Chinese government. China has a very big audience who enjoys films, particularly Hollywood films, such that it is one of the largest consumer of Hollywood movies in the world. Often this can make or break whether the film is a flop or not, when it can be roughly half of all film revenue. We are talking about over 100 M budget with a usual ballpark return on investment of 0% to plus 400% when we are talking about middle 25 to 75 percentile. With most films in this range closer to 0% than plus 400%. Lose the Chinese audience, and you get something like 50% to plus 200%, greatly increasing risk of loss to extreme loss. American A-list actors who are popular in China go to China offering selfies to fans. This increases their potential salary." Asher Reza said, "They don't think they need them. They see the financial market in China and know that they need them or someone else will take their place. Hollywood is not a monolithic entity. It's a collection of hundreds of film production studios. If film company A decides not to engage the Chinese market, what makes them so sure film company B won't do the same? China is a population of over 1 billion people, and that means cash. Lots of cash. If film company A ignores or condemns them, film company B will embrace them and be successful. The only way Hollywood and all American film companies would agree to not engage with China is if the U.S. Congress passed a law and President Biden signed it prohibiting any American film companies from doing all forms of business with China or anyone associated with them. Joydip Chowdhury said, "Thanks for the Atua. Access to the massive and ever-increasing Chinese moviegoers market that is duly aided by an increasing number of Chinese people being lifted out of poverty, moving to middle class and able to spend on such activities. This notion has been expertly used by the CCP as a leverage via censorship and restricted entry to make Hollywood grovel and cower in front of them. This isn't a novel situation, as previously Hollywood served as a propaganda arm for the USA. Now it's simply about switching countries, which shouldn't be hard. Slaves are slaves. Irony is that Hollywood, an industry of a country that claims to fight for human rights and democracy all around the world, is now progressively becoming the pet poodle of an authoritarian government that would gladly thump their skulls for any reason deemed necessary. And the Hollywood people would simply enjoy it, like it, love it. It's the money after all." This is coming from Mikhil Sayo, and he said, "The Chinese movie box office is now the world's largest, bigger than the US. Movies are businesses to make money. If your last movie was a money loser, it will be very difficult for you to find investors for your next movie." The Chinese government used to impose a quota of 10 imported films each year, a number that has increased in the past decades. Now, China allows the screening of 34 foreign films each year, many of which are produced by major Hollywood studios. Unless if the foreign movies have Chinese investments or Chinese actors in major roles. If your movies are unfriendly to China, you'll be barred from the Chinese box office, online and in theaters forever. Future investors and studios cannot afford to finance your movies because you already lost all revenue from the biggest box office in the world. Also, we received this from Sultan Kirli. I will only mention 2 things here, but there would be a lot of reasons actually. The North American and the European market won't be bigger. Pre-COVID 2016-2019 box office result: USA Canada, $11.12 a year. Europe Middle East Africa, $10 a year. Asia Pacific 2016, $15 a year equals in 2019, $18 a year. Cinema infrastructure of China has been developed. In 2007, the domestic box office result was about the same as French domestic box office result. Then number of screens was rapidly grown. Now the box office numbers are bigger than the North American market numbers. Today, North American and Chinese market are the only 2 markets where the annual box office result could be over $10 billion. Data also said, China allows only 34 foreign films a year, and Hollywood movies receive only 25% profit from the sale of tickets, as against 40% from other intermarkets. They also have to pass strict censorship before they are allowed to show their films. In other words, it has to be suitable for the China market and China-friendly. Hollywood movies market is $11 billion a year compared to $9 billion in China, which is predominantly Chinese movies for the local market, and China will soon become the world's largest film market due to its huge population. But of late, the Chinese government is limiting Western cultural influence and may limit Hollywood movies in the future, which may not be a lucrative market for them despite being a 1.3 billion people market. Joe Nathan said, "A great deal of big studios get funding from Chinese sources today. No other country can possibly buy as many movie tickets and streaming services as the Chinese people. The CCP controls the Chinese people. So if Hollywood doesn't do what the CCP wants, their ability to make movies would be drastically cut." Richard Gere is a star that was making big budget movies and then was cast as small films because he insulted the CCP. They even banned him from the Oscars. This is coming from David Johnson, and he said, "Because they have 1 billion people who might buy movie tickets, watch stream shows, and generally consume all the stuff Hollywood produces. That's 3 times the population of the United States. Basically, given a choice between China and the United States as markets, 3 times as big is going to win." Also, we received this from me. Quora Lora. It's all about the Benjamins dollars. Dollars, dollars, dollars. Dollars, dollars, dollars. Dollars, dollars, dollars. Dollars, dollars, dollars. China has controlled the film studio market and monopolized the movie industry fan base. Hollywood is a possible distant second or even about to now a third to India's Bollywood. This is a precursor to what our nation will be overall to China in other matters of our nation's survival if we don't get on the ball and reverse what's happening nowadays. These are the top best answer we are able to get on the forum. Hope you enjoy them and learn something new. And don't forget to like and subscribe for the next video. Hope to see you in the next video.